The awakening. The monitoring station on Europa detected it first. A pulse, rhythmic and deliberate, emanating from Earth's moon. Dr. Marcus Chen stared at his instruments in disbelief, checking and rechecking the data streaming across his screens. For 3 billion years, humanity's closest celestial companion had orbited in silence. Now, something deep within its core was singing. Marcus activated the emergency communication channel, his voice steady despite the tremor in his hands. "This is Europa Station 7 to all Sol system installations. We're detecting structured electromagnetic emissions from Luna. Pattern suggests artificial origin. Within hours, every telescope, satellite, and deep space array in human-controlled space turned toward the moon. What they found defied every law of geology and planetary formation they thought they knew. The moon wasn't just emitting signals. It was broadcasting on frequencies that matched no known natural phenomenon. The patterns were mathematical, precise, and undeniably intelligent. Commander Sarah Mitchell stood in the command center of Armstrong Base, humanity's oldest lunar settlement. She watched as her team of engineers and scientists scrambled to locate the source of the transmission. They had lived on this rock for decades, walked its surface, mined its regolith, and never suspected what lay beneath. "Commander, you need to see this," Lieutenant Torres called out, gesturing frantically at his display. Sarah moved to his station, her magnetic boots clicking against the metal floor. The seismic readings on his screen showed something impossible. The moon's interior wasn't what their textbooks claimed. Instead of a solid iron core surrounded by partially molten rock, the scans revealed vast hollow chambers, geometric structures, and what appeared to be massive conduits running like arteries through the lunar body. "How deep do these structures go?" Sarah asked, though she already suspected the answer. "All the way to the core, ma'am. The entire moon is engineered." The discovery should have been humanity's greatest scientific achievement, but it came with a terrifying companion revelation. Mars' colony reported similar findings from Phobos and Deimos. Then Jupiter's research stations confirmed structured interiors in Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto. Every major moon in the solar system was artificial. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, leading the archaeological team dispatched from Earth, made the breakthrough that changed everything. Using quantum resonance scanning, a technology humanity had only recently perfected, her team penetrated the outer shell of Luna's surface. What they found was a vast network of corridors, chambers, and what could only be described as a bridge. "We're going in," Yuki announced to the assembled team of explorers. The entry point was hidden beneath Tycho crater, sealed by what appeared to be a massive blast door that responded to human DNA. The moment Yuki placed her gloved hand on the scanner panel they'd uncovered, the door recognized something in her genetic code. Ancient mechanisms, dormant for eons, hummed to life. The interior was pristine, as if it had been sealed yesterday rather than millions of years ago. The walls were composed of an unknown alloy that seemed to absorb and redistribute light, creating an ethereal glow that illuminated their path. Strange symbols covered every surface, shifting and rearranging themselves as the humans passed, as if trying to communicate. Deep within the moon's heart, they found it. A vast spherical chamber, kilometers in diameter, dominated by a crystalline structure that pulsed with inner light. The moment Yuki approached, the crystal flared to life, and a voice spoke directly into their minds. Not in English or any Earth language, but in pure meaning that transcended words. "Greetings, inheritors. You have finally come home." The entity identified itself as a custodian, an artificial intelligence left behind to guard these vessels until humanity was ready. It explained what the moons truly were: massive arc ships, disguised as natural satellites, each capable of faster-than-light travel, each containing the seeds of entire civilizations. "Your ancestors," the custodian explained, "were not from Earth. You are the descendants of the architects, the first spacefaring civilization in this galaxy. When the Great War threatened to destroy all they had built, they scattered their children across the stars, hidden in these vessels, programmed to forget their origins until they achieved sufficient technological advancement to reclaim their heritage." The implications were staggering. Humanity wasn't native to Earth. They were refugees, their true history hidden, their incredible inheritance disguised as natural satellites. The custodian showed them archives, historical records spanning millions of years. The architects had seeded hundreds of worlds, but Earth's humans were special. They were the direct genetic descendants of the architect leadership, carrying command codes in their very DNA. News of the discovery couldn't be contained. Within days, every major government on Earth knew the truth. The public reaction ranged from celebration to panic. Religions struggled to incorporate this revelation. Scientists rewrote textbooks. But it was the response from beyond Earth that truly shocked humanity. The Galactic Confederation, a loose alliance of 200 spacefaring species that humanity had only recently discovered, called an emergency session. Ambassador Krex of the Altarian hegemony, his blue-scaled face twisted in what humans recognized as fear, addressed the United Nations via quantum communication. The architects were legends, Krex said, his voice trembling. They ruled this galaxy for 1,000,000 years before vanishing. Their technology was so advanced that most species considered them gods. If you truly are their descendants, if those moons are really their ships. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. The balance of power in the galaxy had just shifted dramatically. Humanity, barely a century into their space age, had inherited a fleet of moon-sized vessels with technology that surpassed anything currently in existence. Commander Mitchell stood on the bridge of what they now knew was humanity's first Titan ship, still disguised as Luna. The custodian had shown her how to access basic systems, weapons that could crack planets, shields that could withstand supernovas, engines that could fold space itself. The moon she had called home for 20 years was actually humanity's most powerful warship. The Confederation is mobilizing, Lieutenant Torres reported, monitoring communications from Earth. 300 ships from various species are converging on our system. They claim it's a diplomatic mission, but they're scared, Sarah finished, and they had every right to be. Humanity had just inherited the power to reshape the galaxy. The question was, what would they do with it? As she stood there watching Earth rise over the lunar horizon, Sarah couldn't help but wonder if humanity was ready for this responsibility. They had barely stopped fighting among themselves, barely begun to explore their own solar system. Now they possessed technology that could either elevate them to heights unimaginable or destroy them utterly. The custodian appeared beside her, its holographic form shimmering. Your ancestors faced the same choice, it said. Power without wisdom led to the Great War. They hid you away, hoping that when you found these gifts you would be wiser than they were. And if we're not? Sarah asked. The custodian's form flickered. Then history will repeat itself, and this time there may be no one left to start over. The inheritance, the Galactic Confederation's armada, hung in space beyond Neptune's orbit, like a swarm of metallic insects. Their ships ranging from the elegant crystalline vessels of the Etherean Collective to the brutal, angular dreadnoughts of the warrior caste of Dracon. Admiral Zhang Wei observed them from the command center of the newly awakened Luna, humanity's moon, revealing its true nature as the Titan ship designated Archive Prime. 3 weeks had passed since the discovery. 3 weeks of frantic activity as humanity struggled to understand their inheritance. 12 moons throughout the solar system had responded to human genetic markers, each one a sleeping giant waiting to be awakened. But with that awakening came responsibility and danger. Admiral, the Confederation is requesting permission to send a delegation, Communications Officer Patel reported. They want to board Archive Prime. Zhang Wei turned to the custodian, which had taken to manifesting as a shifting geometric pattern of light. What are your protocols regarding alien visitors? The architects had many allies and many enemies, the custodian replied. Several species in the current Confederation were uplifted by your ancestors. Others fought against them in the Great War. I can provide detailed histories of each, but the decision to allow them aboard is yours, inheritor. The title still felt strange. Zhang Wei had spent 40 years in Earth's combined space forces, had commanded missions to Mars and the asteroid belt, but nothing had prepared him for commanding a moon-sized battleship with technology millions of years ahead of anything humanity had imagined. Tell them they can send 5 representatives. Unarmed, Zhang Wei decided. We'll meet them in the diplomatic chamber. What the custodian called the diplomatic chamber was a vast spherical room that could manipulate gravity, atmosphere, and even the flow of time to accommodate any species. As the alien delegation materialized through the ship's transport system, Zhang Wei stood with his team of Earth's finest diplomats, scientists, and military advisors. The delegation was led by Arch Coordinator Thyma of the Verithy, a species that appeared as pillars of living crystal that sang rather than spoke. Through universal translators, her melody became words. Humanity, we come before you with both congratulations and concern. The return of architect technology to the galaxy is unprecedented. We're just as surprised as you are, Jiang Wei replied diplomatically. We're still learning about our apparent heritage. That is what concerns us, interjected Warlord Gax of the Draken, his forearms crossed over his armored chest. You wield weapons that could destroy star systems, yet you have barely achieved unity on your own world. The architects fell because they became drunk on their own power. How do we know you won't follow the same path? Before Jiang Wei could respond, alerts began flashing across the command interface. Something was happening on Earth. Dr. Tanaka's team, working to activate the Titan ship hidden as Phobos around Mars, had triggered something unexpected, not just in Earth's system but across the galaxy. The custodian's form brightened urgently. The awakening protocol has been initiated. All architect technology, dormant across the galaxy, is responding to the presence of active command codes. On the main display, points of light began appearing throughout the galactic map. Hundreds, then thousands of locations where hidden architect technology was awakening. Derelict stations thought to be ancient ruins hummed to life. Planets with mysterious structures suddenly revealed hidden cities. The scope was breathtaking. By the void, whispered Ambassador Krex, his scales paling. They're everywhere. The architects never left. They just hid everything. But with the awakening came another revelation. The custodian accessed deeper archives, memories locked away until humanity proved ready. Images flooded the chamber. The architects at their height, beings that looked remarkably human but with subtle differences. Elongated limbs, larger craniums, eyes that held the depth of eternity. Observe, the custodian commanded, and history unfolded before them. The Great War hadn't been what anyone expected. It wasn't fought between the architects and another species, but among the architects themselves. They had achieved such technological supremacy that they began to see themselves as gods, deserving of worship from lesser species. Two factions emerged, those who believed in guidance and protection, and those who demanded subjugation and control. The war that followed nearly destroyed the galaxy. Entire star systems were erased. Species were extinct in the crossfire, and the very fabric of space-time was wounded in places that still hadn't healed. In the end, the protective faction made a desperate choice. They would scatter their children, stripped of their memories and technology, to grow and evolve naturally. Only when they achieved wisdom alongside power would their inheritance be unlocked. But we haven't achieved wisdom, Dr. Elizabeth Harper, Earth's lead philosopher advisor, said quietly. We still war among ourselves. We still struggle with basic concepts of equality and justice. Perhaps, the custodian acknowledged, but you also show something your ancestors lost. Humility. You question whether you deserve this power. That alone makes you different. The alien delegation exchanged worried glances. Warlord Gax stepped forward. The Confederation will not allow humanity to claim all architect technology. It would upset the balance of. He was interrupted by another alert. This time from Earth itself. The signal was coming from the deepest point in Earth's ocean, the Mariana Trench. Something massive was rising from beneath the tectonic plates, something that had been hidden beneath Earth's crust for millions of years. The emergence was visible from space. The Pacific Ocean parted like a curtain, as a structure the size of a small continent surfaced. It wasn't a ship. It was a city, a perfect preservation of architect civilization, complete with towering spires that reached into the stratosphere and energy shields that kept the ocean at bay. Inside the city, humans found libraries with the complete history of the architects, laboratories with technology that could reshape matter at the quantum level, and most importantly, a message from the faction that had chosen to hide humanity away. Jiang Wei read it aloud to the assembled delegation. To our children, if you are reading this, then you have passed the first test. You have achieved spaceflight, cooperation sufficient to activate our gifts, and curiosity to seek the truth. But the real test begins now. You have the power to become what we were, masters of the galaxy, but we hope you will choose to become what we should have been, its guardians. The message continued with a warning. Other architect descendants had been seeded throughout the galaxy. Some had already awakened their inheritance centuries ago and chosen the path of domination. They would see humanity as either rivals to be eliminated or tools to be controlled. The hegemony, Arch Coordinator Thyma sang in recognition. They appeared 300 years ago with advanced technology. We always wondered. They are descendants of the warrior faction, the custodian confirmed. They have been searching for Earth for you, because human DNA carries the master codes. With it, they could activate and control all architect technology. The weight of revelation settled on everyone present. Humanity wasn't just inheriting power. They were inheriting an ancient conflict that could reignite at any moment. Jiang Wei made a decision that would define humanity's path forward. We propose an alliance, he announced to the delegation. Humanity will share architect technology with species that commit to mutual defense and peaceful cooperation. We'll establish councils with equal representation. No single species, including humanity, will control everything. You would share such power? Warlord Gax asked, suspicion evident in his 4 eyes. Power shared is power stabilized, Jiang Wei replied. Our ancestors' mistake was believing they could stand alone above all others. We won't repeat that error. The negotiations that followed were tense but productive. Within days, the framework for a new galactic alliance was established. Humanity would activate and manage architect technology, but under the oversight of a council representing all member species. Earth's moonships would become the foundation of a peacekeeping force, not an invasion fleet. But even as the alliance formed, sensors detected movement at the galaxy's edge. The hegemony had noticed the awakening. Their fleets were mobilizing, and their message was clear. Surrender the master codes or face extinction. Standing on the bridge of Archive Prime, now fully operational with its planet-cracking weapons and reality-bending shields, Jiang Wei watched Earth recede as humanity's Titan ships prepared for their first real test. They had inherited the power of gods, but would they have the wisdom to use it? The custodian appeared beside him one final time. Your ancestors would be proud. You chose unity over dominion. But the hardest battles are ahead. The hegemony possesses corrupted architect technology, weapons designed not just to destroy but to unmake. Are you prepared? Jiang Wei looked at his crew. Humans from every nation on Earth working alongside aliens from distant stars united in purpose. Our ancestors hid us away hoping we'd be better than they were. Time to prove them right. As the Titan ships engaged their faster-than-light drives, heading toward their first battle as guardians rather than conquerors, humanity's true journey had just begun. They were no longer just humans from Earth. They were the inheritors of the architects, protectors of the galaxy, and perhaps the last hope for peace among the stars. The silent Titans had awakened, and with them a new chapter in galactic history. Whether it would be written in wisdom or blood remained to be seen, but one thing was certain. Humanity would not face it alone. They had chosen connection over isolation, responsibility over power, and in doing so had perhaps achieved what their ancestors never could. True evolution, not of technology, but of spirit.